Nonsan, South Korea. The main street of the city of Nonsan that afternoon was crowded with people who flocked to watch the annual folk festival. Colorful banners stretch along the streets, traditional food stalls line up neatly, and small children run while carrying small South Korean flags. The boisterous atmosphere turned even more festive when the ranks of military music bands began to enter the main area of the festival. Among the young soldiers in uniform, the spotlight was on one long-known figure in the entertainment world, Cha Eun-woo, an ASTRO member and popular actor. Clad in full military uniform, he was not on stage in grand lighting, but rather walked the streets with his colleagues, played instruments and sang along as part of a military music band. The moment presented an unusual sight. Eun-woo, who usually appears full of confidence at international concerts and awards shows, looks a little nervous when he has to walk in the middle of the festival crowd. His hands occasionally smoothed the position of his hat, his steps seemed careful, and his smile looked stiff before he finally tried to adjust to the rhythm of the music. Nonsan Folk Festival has always been a special event. Not only featuring cultural parades and folk entertainment, this festival is also a moment of togetherness between civilians and soldiers who are undergoing military service. For many families, this event is an opportunity to reunite with a child or relative who is being forged at the Nonsan Military Training Center. However, this year the atmosphere feels different with Cha Eun-woo's presence. Although his status as a big star excited many visitors, the nervous face he showed while walking in the ranks of military music actually made the atmosphere warmer. In front of thousands of pairs of eyes, Eun-woo looks just like any other soldier, trying to focus, adjusting his pace, and carrying out his duties with full seriousness. The screams of the audience were heard along the way. Some say his name, some just wave their hands, and some try to hold back the emotion of seeing a big celebrity appear modest in the middle of a folk festival. Eun-woo responds with a small smile and a nod, though still looks a little awkward. For some, it may be natural for a new soldier to feel nervous walking in public. However, seeing it happen to a figure that has been synonymous with the glamorous stage makes this moment feel special. That day, on the crowded streets of Nonsan, Cha Eun-woo reveals his human side. A young man who is learning to balance between his past as an entertainment star and his current life as a conscript soldier. Since the morning, the main street of Nonsan has begun to be filled with residents. The folk festival held every year is indeed a long-awaited event, not only by the local community but also by the families of soldiers who are undergoing military service. White tents line the side of the road, offering traditional snacks such as spicy sweet tteokbokki, warm hotteok filled with brown sugar, to fresh drinks to withstand the hot sun. The smell of food mixes with the sound of traditional music playing from loudspeakers, creating an atmosphere typical of South Korean folk parties. The crowd is getting denser by noon. Young children run around holding balloons shaped like Korean flags, while their parents are busy looking for the best position to watch the military parade. The elderly sat in folding chairs provided by the roadside, most carrying traditional folding fans to dissipate heat. The colorful atmosphere was even more lively when from a distance the sound of drums marked the start of the parade of military music bands. Rows of soldiers walked with uniform steps. Their green uniforms looked neat under the scorching sun. Patriotic music resonates, creating a sense of national pride. Residents immediately stood up. Many raised their phones to record the moment. Among the feisty faces of the young soldiers, there was a figure so familiar to most of the audience, Cha Eun-woo. There is no grandiose stage with the usual spotlights accompanying the performance, but the festival streets with black asphalt stretching straight. On the right-left, residents cheered, waved their hands, some even called his name in a half-whispered voice so as not to stand out too much. The atmosphere feels different. The folk festival, which usually only features military parades and local arts, is now filled with curiosity and additional excitement due to the presence of a big star in the music lineup. Eun-woo walks among his colleagues carrying a microphone. Every now and then he turned to the side, looked at the crowd that said his name, then smiled briefly. However, his eyes were full of caution. It is clear that he is balancing between his role as a soldier in the ranks of military music and his status as a celebrity known to many. Around the streets, festival vendors continue to peddle their wares. A hotteok merchant said to the customer beside him, "It's really Cha Eun-woo, huh? I didn't expect to see it here." That simple sentence describes how special this year's festival feels. Eun-woo's presence gives a new feel. making this annual event more festive and imprinted on the hearts of residents. Young children who usually only applaud for military parades, this time were seen enthusiastically waving their hands towards Unwoo. Some teenagers tried to hold back the screams, aware that this event was not a K-pop concert, but a folk festival filled with the value of togetherness and respect for the soldiers. Even so, the look on their faces clearly shows the happiness of being able to watch their idols live in such a different atmosphere. On the other hand, many warrior families felt tremendous pride. Seeing their son walk well in the parade lineup is already a happiness in itself, especially since this year they were able to watch a popular celebrity go through the same thing. The festival turned into a meeting place of emotions: pride, longing, emotion, as well as joy. Along the way, the applause never stopped. The sound of drums, trumpets, and chanting mingled with the cheers of the residents. Nonsan Street seemed to turn into a simple but meaningful folk stage. And in the midst of that atmosphere, Cha Eun-woo stood out not as a big star who usually appears on the screen, but as a young soldier who participated in entertaining and building togetherness with the community. When the lineup of the military music band started playing the first song, all eyes seemed to be on Cha Eun-woo's figure. He was in the front row to the right, wearing a neat green military uniform with a perfectly fitted hat. In his hand, he holds a microphone connected to a portable loudspeaker carried by the team in the back. For people, this is a contrasting sight. An idol who used to perform at big concerts now walks in the middle of a paved street, surrounded by residents at such a short distance. Eun-woo's steps looked careful, as if he was measuring every move to keep in line with the lineup. Up close, some onlookers could see his slightly stiff fingers as he grasped the microphone. Every now and then he took a deep breath, then exhaled slowly, trying to calm down amid the constantly echoing cheers. His smile was present, but not as wide as usual, more like the nervous smile of a new soldier who was learning to blend in. When his vocal part arrives, his voice sounds a little shaky on the initial notes. The audience who noticed it actually gave a firmer spirit. They clapped their hands, some cheered softly, as if to say that it was okay if he was nervous. That spontaneous support makes the atmosphere fluid. After a few verses, his voice began to stabilize, clearer, and felt full of sincerity. Military music band colleagues also gave small support that was almost invisible to the lay audience. A soldier next to him turned his head and smiled, as if gesturing, "You can." The drummer in the back row tapped the sticks a little harder, helping to keep the rhythm so Eun-woo could be more confident. That simple interaction created warmth, a solidarity that showed that in the ranks, they were not celebrities and ordinary soldiers, but a team. In the middle of the parade, they performed songs on the theme of patriotism and togetherness. Eun-woo, who initially focused only on the microphone, slowly began to adjust to the rhythm. Every now and then he raises his gaze, looks at the audience, then gives a more sincere smile. Even at one moment, he waved his hand briefly towards the small children calling his name, making the crowd instantly cheer boisterously. What makes this moment even more memorable is how it transforms nervousness into energy. If at the beginning he seemed stiff, then towards the end of the song, his face was already calmer. His voice grew louder, his pace more steady, and his expression began to show the typical spirit of an entertainer. The difference is that this time there are no fancy lights or high stages, just simple streets with spectators standing so close.